Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is 5 Near Time Travels War. Before I get into it, I just want to mention Patreon. If you'd like to support the work of Astral Club, you can do so on Patreon. When you join, you get to, of course, support our work here. You get advanced episodes, you get chat functions, and you can send me direct messages, all kinds of good stuff. And if you're interested, there will be a link in the description. Next up, astral projection lessons. If you'd like a lesson to learn how to astral project or to improve your current abilities, be glad to work with you. It's always a lot of fun. I learn a lot, and the students tell me they learn a lot as well. And we've had some good success stories, good emails telling me about how they began projecting. So if you're interested, just go to the description section and send me an email requesting more information. Okay, today is August 1st, 2024, and I've had 5 time travels recently. The type of time travel I don't normally do. This was near time travels, and I did 5 of them, and they were all between now and the year 2030. I don't have exact dates. Now, when I do near time travels, just want to get a couple things straight for maybe some new people, I can only spend a handful of minutes that close to the present time. If I travel hundreds of years or thousands into the future, I can spend a lot more time there. But when I have these near time travels, I only get a handful of minutes. So I grab what information I can before I get pulled back into my body. Next up, the multiverse. You need to understand that we live in a multiverse, that there are numerous paths waiting for us. It all depends on what paths we personally and what paths we as a group choose to follow down. We can take the right path, we can take the left path, we can take the center path, and then imagine a million other paths available as well. And you've got a pretty good handle on the multiverse. As you get closer to a particular time, those paths, they collapse. And eventually there's only one left, and that's the one that you personally travel down, or our Earth ends up traveling down. And I want to share with you in a minute the results of my 5 near time travels. I just want to let you know that I don't take any joy in imparting this information. I would much rather give you glad tidings, fluffy bunny, everything is going to be fine types of news. But would I be serving you if I gave you that? I mean, sure, you'd feel good for a while. But if your house collapsed around you a year later, and I knew that it might do so, and I didn't warn you because I didn't want to bring you down, you might be a little upset with me. You might want to say, hey, Rick, it's okay to bring me down a little bit. Maybe if you had warned me, my house wouldn't have collapsed on top of my family. And when I think about this kind of stuff, I think about some of the Bible stories that I heard as a kid, like Noah's Ark. And, God says to Noah, build this ark because I'm going to make it rain a little bit in a bit. And so he and his family builds this ark. And they never really talk about, did Noah go out and try to warn all the people in the village? Sure, he'd be mocked, but maybe there'd be some people who'd listen and they'd be saved. But they never talk about that. It's all about saving Noah and his family, and to heck with everybody else. Same kind of story with Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot and his family. I mean, the Bible portrays Sodom and Gomorrah in a pretty negative terms. And it's easy for especially fundamentalist Christians just to say, oh, well, they were evil, so they deserve to be nuked. I'm like, really? Were the little children evil too? Were the babies evil? Was everyone evil? I mean, wasn't there just some bakers and some tailors and people just trying to make a living? Yeah, sure, there's troublemakers. There's troublemakers in every city. But, do you just nuke the whole city without trying to warn them? 'Cause I used to think as a kid, I would have warned the other people to give them a chance, to save themselves. I've always thought like that. And, and it reminds me, I know I've mentioned this story before because I'm a big Tolkien fan, but, Gandalf, he ran around warning different kingdoms, and one of the kingdoms was Rohan, and he got the name Stormcrow, Gandalf Stormcrow or whatever, because he always seemed to show up in Rohan with evil tidings, bad news because nobody likes someone who only bears bad news to them. But sometimes that news is of more use than just some bland assurances that everything's going to be fine. Just don't worry about it. That doesn't that doesn't serve those who need to be warned. And I believe that someone with information has a responsibility to at least extend the warning. Sure, some people will just dismiss it. Maybe a lot of people will just dismiss it, but maybe there will be some who actually take some action, and that action saves them and their families suffering or worse. So I'm going to share these results with you, and you take them for whatever you think they're worth. And at least I have my conscience clear that that I shared this information so that, everyone had a fair chance here in Astral Club to prepare. As I said, I had 5 near time travels. The first one, I showed up and I was hovering above a city, and I knew I only had a handful of minutes, so I immediately started trying to scan the minds of the people. And I was able to get some information to kind of piece together. In this reality, China fired on a U.S. ship. The ship was in the China Sea. And unfortunately, China takes that a little too seriously. And they think the whole China Sea is theirs. And the U.S. ship was just doing a freedom of navigation type of exercise, I assume. Anyway, the Chinese ship fired on the U.S. ship. The U.S. ship fired back and sank the Chinese ship. I sensed that there was a rescue operation by the U.S. ship, but the Chinese sabotaged it somehow or didn't want us to save them. Anyway, there's a big loss of life, and it ended up in a war with China. So that was the first experience. I then decided to go back for more. I appeared in a different reality. In this one, the U.S. was engaged in a European war over Ukraine. But it was more than just Ukraine. Apparently, Poland had become involved. They had been attacked by someone, I assume Russia, but I also got China was involved too. So Poland is a member of NATO. So I assume the U.S. and NATO retaliated. And so there we were involved in another major European war. The next trip that I had was in a reality. Keep in mind, all of this is before 2030. That's the one thing I kept in mind. This time it was the Middle East. Apparently, there had been a huge attack on Israel, bigger than the one that started the current conflict is from a death standpoint. And Israel retaliated massively, and it ended up in a war in the Middle East. Iran was involved. Some other Arab countries were involved. The U.S. was involved. I know our ships were attacked. And so there was this big Middle East war going on. When I got back to my body, I thought about just quitting while I was behind because this was very depressing. I decided to go one more time and hope that things got better. Unfortunately, they didn't. In this reality, I sensed that we were fighting, we being the U.S., I'm sorry, I'm a U.S. citizen. I know the whole world isn't the U.S., but the U.S. was fighting a two-front war in the Middle East and with China. Apparently, we were fighting in the Middle East I think it started very similar to the one before this, the reality before this. But then China decided to take advantage, thinking that they could take Taiwan while we were busy in the Middle East. So we were fighting a two-front war, and it was desperate. I know that. I returned my body, and I thought to myself, okay, just one more, just one more. I appeared in this reality, and I didn't get any thoughts about war. So that tells me that there still is a reality out there where there isn't a major war going on. But I hope you understand why I decided to share this information with you. My advice is this: the money that you would blow on a weekly basis on stupid stuff like snacks that are bad for you anyway, pizza, excessive recreation. I mean, you go to a movie, and what are they charging you? Like $20 for a ticket, and then you get the most expensive $10 popcorn or whatever you've ever bought. It's ridiculous. My advice, and I followed my own advice, I assure you, is to prepare with these types of funds. I don't want you to use money that you need to daily live. Okay, don't do that to yourself. I'm talking about money here that you blow, and we all blow a certain amount of money every week on stuff that we really don't need to have. So use that money and begin to prepare the best way you know how. There's plenty of survivalist channels on YouTube. Some of them are a little over the top, but some of them give you some good advice. And you know what? It never hurts to stock up on some food. Now, I don't get any money from this, and I'm certainly not being paid to do a commercial, but Mountain House is a good company. And if you buy these restaurant cans, now they're more expensive than when I bought them a number of years back, but it is what it is. But these restaurant cans have pretty good food that you can reconstitute, and they last for 30 years. You store them like in your basement or something where it's like a decent temperature, and they'll last 30 years. So worst comes to worst, you'll have food. If you find yourself, maybe as a single guy or a single woman, and you forgot to go shopping, there's always, a can of food downstairs. And, you open it up, and there's also a plastic lid on top of it, too, that you can reseal it. And they've got all kinds of, good food that you can eat. So, worst comes to worst is you still have some extra food that's going to last a long time. And that never hurts, right? Because there's still natural disasters. Even without man-made disasters, we still have natural ones. And hurricanes, that kind of stuff. And it's nice to have some food and water, what have you, laying around that you can depend upon. So, like I said, do some research. This isn't a survivalist channel. There's plenty of that on YouTube. And like I said, Mountain House, good company. Just throwing that out there. So that's my advice. Now, at this point in time, you can take it or leave it. All I ask you to do is don't indulge in unnecessary fear. Fear is a waste of energy, and it won't help you at all. So don't indulge in fear. Either just forget what I've said, or start taking some action. And like I said, don't go crazy, okay? Just use the money that you would otherwise blow stupidly. That's all. And you'd be surprised what you can do with just that, And you probably cut down on a few calories from pizza and all that other stuff too. So that's good too. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of end it with a little bit of humor. If you liked this, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I welcome your comments and questions. Let me know what you think. Did I do wrong? Should I not give this kind of information because it's perceived as negative? Let me know, because if you don't want to hear this stuff, I can keep it to myself. But just let me know. Okay, at any rate, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.